Romantic visual novels are a genre and medium of video games that get a bad rep where I live. Maybe that's not the right way to say it, but I'm pretty sure that my audience knows them for two things. One, being called a dating sim when they're nominally not that, or hentai. I can't say that they're both untrue. That being said, it's an art form that's not appreciated as much as I'd hope. There's bits and pieces of visual novels that make waves here for one reason or another. Ace Attorney is the most prominent example I can think of, but I'd argue there's a couple others. Danganronpa is one you might know about too. If you've been on sides of the internet that I'm not allowed to talk about without getting certain looks, you might know of the Sakura series, where they all have the same art style and every girl is giving you bedroom eyes constantly. My honest response to that is, Sakura Dudes is pretty okay. If you're a fan of Hideo Kojima, you might know of one of his earlier works, Police Knots, which gets brought up in every single Metal Gear retrospective without fail, which I'm very lightly indulging in before getting back to my point. One thing that's insanely obvious to anyone with a brain is that visual novels are a very Japanese thing. Not in a, gosh, Japan is so weird way because I'm not a horse's ass, more like I don't think any other place really produces them, or rather, produced them in such capacity. I don't think anybody on my side of the world really wants to read a book when they pick up a video game for themselves. Have you seen our commercials from 2004?
Mystery Inc. is up to their eyeballs in another freakish adventure. It's an outrageous, ghost capturing, clue-solving, disguise-wearing caper.
Now look at some Japanese commercials from the time. I'd consider myself a very light fan of visual novels. I'm not as well versed as I'd like to be in them, but I find the stories they choose to tell through them unique in a sense, that I only expect to see them in this format. The visuals in the novel are very intertwined. A lot of them have voice acting when they can help it, and the juxtaposition of the full CG art along with the regular character talking heads creates a certain experience that I don't think is replicated very well when you're trying to parody it. Unless you're Ultra Kill. I know the gameplay, most of the time, boils down to hitting confirm and up or down sometimes, but I don't know, I kinda like it every so often. I wouldn't consider myself hardcore into visual novels, but I read very fast, so their full audio-visual experience may not hit as hard as I'd hope, or maybe the developers wanted. I actually got my start enjoying visual novels from anime, of all things. I mentioned in my last video that I watched Canon and Clanad, and most importantly, Shuffle. Oh, excuse me. Shuffle! In all caps. And with an exclamation point. So part of you may be wondering what got me wanting to revisit this in a retrospective format. Well, it's because I have nostalgia. I remember very vividly watching Shuffle on I think Netflix or something when it was good and not absolute dog shit. I didn't think it was high art then, and I don't think it's high art now, but I think there's fun to be had here, so I wanted to go back. So what, is this a review of the anime? Well, yes and no. I actually wanted to compare and contrast what the visual novel did to the anime because I think there's some stuff here that gets lost in adaptation, how things got changed over when moving from one medium to another. To that end, we're going to start with the visual novel, and then I'm going to talk about the anime. Part of me wants to divide this by character and see how they differ from medium to medium, but we have to start somewhere, so let's start with the visual novel. Shuffle was the first project by the company Naval after splitting off from a different company, Basil. They grabbed some people and fucking went with it, and created Bishoujo games, which is a game where you talk to beautiful women. Contrast that to Ultimate games, where you usually talk to beautiful men. I make this sound like Naval created Bishoujo games, and they didn't. I'm leaving this in. Listen, I ain't judging, really, Lord knows I love beautiful men too, but I think it's really funny how these two gender-essentialist type of games both have feminine words to describe them. If you're a fucking weeb and you've watched anime with otaku protagonists, god that felt gross to say, you might have heard these games get called galge, or gal games. Ultimate translates to maiden, so you have gal games and maiden games, both targeting different people. Is this tangent unnecessary? Yes, but you're watching a retrospective about Shuffle, so you get to listen to me say stupid shit. Please don't click off. For a first project, I think they landed with an astounding, yeah, you know what, this is kinda neat, and we blaze off from here. There's several follow-ups to Shuffle, some of which taking after specific routes. The first one to release, Tic Tac, follows the Narane ending, to make an example. Like many games of this genre, it has sex in it, but those were gutted for an all-ages release on home consoles. I should mention that I'm not lamenting this decision, far from it. I do think it's interesting how many times it's happened, though. I'd have a lot of nickels if I had one for every single time it did. A lot more than 2 nickels. I'd have like $100. But in nickels. So where do I land in this? Well, I watched the anime first, and as adaptations of visual novels with multiple heroines go, this one's alright. It could be a lot worse, but I think it gets left out of the former zeitgeist of adaptations. I say that because I feel like Clannad gets lifted up as such a great story and blah blah bloopity. Nagisa isn't even top 3 girls in that story, and it's not even fucking close. When I say I wanted to go back, I meant it. I decided to actually play the original Shuffle release in all of its 2004 glory. The hard part was actually finding a copy to play. I unfortunately can't read Japanese, so I couldn't seek out the original version. The website Manga Gamer used to have an English translated version of the original VN for sale, but it's since been delisted. When I say the original, I mean that it only had the core 5 routes, for Sia, Narane, Kaede, Asa, and Primula. I check on Steam like I always do, and the original Shuffle was also released there, but in a different capacity. I mentioned a PS2 version that came out like many hentai-adjacent VNs get, and that PS2 version was translated and uploaded to Steam for purchase as well. Said PS2 version added new routes, notably Mayumi and Kareha. Unfortunately, that version was delisted in 2021, when I started the Space Show properly. What's weird is that Steam lets me buy Shuffle Episode 2, which isn't translated in the slightest. Honestly, didn't know this could happen, but we ball. So I had to find an alternative way to play these games. Legally, I'm not supposed to endorse this, but I did find a website that classified this game as abandonware, which I'm not keen on believing outright. Unfortunately, I can't get this game any other way, so I'd hope that gaming gods would forgive me. Gaben be willing. Today, we're talking about Shuffle. Let's dive in. Yeah, I took that from Mike the Snare. What's he gonna do? Kick my ass? I know his weakness! I feel like I don't need to say this, but obvious spoilers for the entire story are ahead here. So for the people who are here to talk about the anime, I hope you stick around, because I also watched the anime first, and I find some of these changes to be utterly fascinating. Writing the script for the first episode must have been a fucking trip, not gonna lie. If you're wondering why the quality of the footage you're seeing is a bit guerrilla in nature, it's due to how the game itself is. It's natively 800 by 600, and full screening doesn't letterbox it like I'd hope it would. No, it fully changed the resolution of my monitor, said monitor getting mad at me the entire 5 minutes I had the game full screened. There's a bit of work we have to do before the game starts, and it's to explain the premise. Otherwise, nothing will make sense. I mean, it might, but 10 years before the story started, the gates between worlds was opened. The people from the realms of the gods and the realm of the demons began to roam the earth as we know it. Thankfully, relations were chill? It's not like gate or something. To broker relations, the kings of each realm made personal missions to the human world to make things right, like a business trip of sorts. Along with them came their young daughters, who met a younger version of our protagonist, Rin. After spending a day with the young boy, they grew to love him and vowed to come back to the human world in order to be his bride. The whole game runs into the idea that you're going to be seeing demons and gods every so often, as they're part of the principal cast. Sia is a god along with Kareha, and Narane and Mayumi are demons, although Mayumi is only half demon. Primula is a homunculus made from the combined efforts of demons and gods, but is more closely related to Narane and is treated more like a demon. Kaede and Asa are humans, but I'm not going to beat around the bush, Asa is part demon too. Not in the same exact way as Mayumi, but still. More importantly than these ancestry details is that Sia and Narane are princesses of their respective kingdoms. Why does this matter? Well, the whole point of the story is that Rin, through his interactions with the two princesses as kids, was chosen to become king of either realm if he so wishes. This being revealed to him is really the inciting incident for the rest of the game to take place, so I wanted to bring it up before the everything else. So you get introduced, not to the main character or one of the heroines first thing, you get introduced to the main character's really scummy friend and this guy who is referred to as Handsome Man. I mean, sure, if that's what you're into. He's not my type, that's for sure. Okay, I don't mean to go into character analysis first thing, but they do something with this guy on the right's character and do nothing else with it. He likes girls, same, but okay, I just don't understand what the game means by his hobby being picking up girls, you know? Like, he sits outside and catcalls them? Tries to take them on dates, that whole thing? And I don't mean to sound like a pick-me guy, like a real Mordecai-sounding motherfucker, but I never understood catcalling. Like, if I'm trying to flirt with a girl, usually unsuccessfully, I physically can't bring myself to be like that with them unless we're already friends and I have a relationship with them. What the hell does that say about me? And what does that even mean? That your hobby is picking up girls? What kind of hobby is that even? I mean, I guess the text of the game is that he's a womanizer. It's like I have to do some mental correction when I'm playing in order to keep my brain straight. Insofar as characters go, that's all you get for Itsuki. He likes girls, and it's shown off later in the game that he makes fun of Mayumi for her breast size. Rin, on multiple occasions, calls Itsuki his bad friend, or some other insult, usually inside of his head. So I don't know what the deal is. Rin at least has a better head on his shoulders and isn't exclusively thinking with his dick. And not for nothing, even without Rin introducing Itsuki to the player, you can just feel how stinky he is. I mean, not literally, man definitely grooms himself like a functioning human being, but he's smelly. He needs a life. Stinky. At the very least, after that is when we get the character vignettes that matter the most. The ones that let us know what the characters are all about. Lysianthus, who I'm calling Sia for short, is cheery. She gleefully asks for help while trying to get the most bang for her buck at a grocery store, even mentioning having to go get toilet paper at a different place to catch a sale. I'll be honest with you, I thought that was a thing they added in the English dub of the anime, but she literally says it in Japanese, which I thought was funny.
I'm sorry I can't stay and talk, but there's a toilet paper sale at the drugstore and I can't miss it, you know?
Oh, of course.
ごめんね。これから駅前の薬局でトイレットペーパーのタイムサービスがあるから、それに行かないと。
Sia, importantly, is the princess of the gods, her father being the king. Narine is relatively alone when you meet her. There's no other people around you. It's a public place, but one that Narine exists in by herself. The anime highlights that she was met at sunset, but the CG is in broad daylight. Narine is more reserved by proxy, and you feel that in how she's written. Narine also is the princess of the demons, her father also being the king. Both girls are punctuated by the fact that they already know who Rin is and refer to him in different ways. I totally get why it's not translated since English doesn't really have honorifics in the way that Japanese does, but you also feel their character in what they call Rin. Then it's Kaede's turn, and it's also instant what she's about by how she speaks and the context of the CG in question. It's excellent. Then Asa, who is smacking him on the back to say hi and be still my heart. Okay, yeah, I don't think Asa's the best girl in the series or anything, but I do think she's characterized really well. At least in the anime. She's not as well put together in the VN from what passing glances I got, but there's still something to see. Like, it's not immediately apparent that she's got a thing for him like it is with the other girls, you kinda have to dig a little for that. I mentioned with what I got because I intentionally decided not to complete Asa's rap for this video because the anime already covers that.
So that was a fucking lie.
For my first playthrough, I knew I wanted to see how Sia's route played out first and foremost, so I made choices that were directed at that idea. The only catch is that there's only two obvious choices you make throughout the game that points to a specific route you can take down the line. To be honest, I kinda just went with what the anime did the other times because it made the most sense to me to keep everything together in that way. Even then, those two choices were to either take Primula into the house or not, or intentionally buy a present for her, or do something different. I think the outcome is the same no matter what, but I just did it because it felt like the nice thing to do as well. Other than that, I played the game very normally. It wasn't until I got to the latter half of summer break that it was confirmed that I was on the correct path because Sia showed up on the loading screens from then on. For that reason, I'm going to talk about Sia first because she ended up, once again, being my favorite character. I'm simple, I know. One of the first changes when this was adapted to anime is actually something I noticed early on. It's when Sia mentions Rin's name. In the anime, it's at the end of their conversation as she's leaving, but in the visual novel, it's right when she gets his attention. Much like with books that get turned into movies, you lose out on the inner monologue of the point of view character when you put it on the screen, and that's no better shown than here. In the VN, because Rin already knows that Sia must be an acquaintance of some sort, he's already endeared to her and better able to help. In the anime, she says it at the end, so there's not a whole lot of time for Rin to ruminate on it. I bring this up because it's one of the only things that's tiny. Everything else feels pretty major if you ask me, but I'll get to that when I get to that. One of Sia's big character things in the anime was how immediately close she got to Rin in the first place, with the whole beach episode thing happening and them almost kissing after vowing to become a family or something. Whatever the hell they were on about, I kinda checked out for that episode to be completely honest. This doesn't happen in the VN, it's just a regular beach day. Swimsuit art, it's kinda refreshing to be completely honest with you. I mean, I got to see her dad and Narune's dad be themselves.
海だな。ああ、海だね。
Where things really take a massive change is how Kikyo is introduced, and the latter half of Sia's character arc when she reveals the whole truth about her. Here's the funny thing. Kikyo doesn't get a name until right before Sia's route ends. Up until that point, her name is Reverse Sia because she's like a secret dark side. The reason for that? Well, the anime doesn't mention this, but Sia has 3 moms. She has her dad, of course, but she textually has 3 moms because polygamy is allowed in the realm of the gods. Hell, that polygamy thing isn't even mentioned in the anime until after Sia's rejected confession in like episode 17.
Oh, there's one thing you might want to know. In the realm of the gods, it's common for a man to have many wives.
I'm adding this off the cuff. It's also mentioned if you date Asa, Kaede, or Primula. Like, the gods and the king of demons and gods, they come over to Rin's house and they're just like, celebration! You know, you can still marry our daughters. And it's like, guys, Sia's biological mother is actually a demon. Sister to the king of demons, I should say. Sia and Narune are cousins, but it's because of Sia's demon ancestry that she has her god side and her demon side. 2 different souls in one body, it seems. Because of this, Sia has to share 2 distinct personalities. Reverse Sia only comes out on certain occasions, and each girl's consciousness can view the others as if they're dreams, not counting when the main body is actually asleep or anything. One of the character beats I think is super neat is that you can feel this sadness within Sia as she gets closer to Rin. Certain ways she expresses her words and such that portray that there's more in her head than she lets on. The anime does this too, but only for a few episodes where Kikyo is fighting for dominance and acting like another part of Sia's conscious. The way that both of the characters are introduced are insane too. Kikyo in the anime is much more of a naughty character, if that makes any sense. She's immediately flirting with Rin, flashing him in a changing room or screaming for help in a public area to force his decision on things, on top of him being absent from school that day because of her. Meanwhile, in the VN, it's more of a mutual agreement, and Rin notices that Sia isn't herself, and that's when Reverse Sia makes herself known. The way this all boils over is different too, and I don't know which side I prefer. In the VN, Sia actively understands her place in the world and her other selves. So, for that purpose, she sacrifices her chance at happiness and does a permanent switch so that Kikyo can take charge and live a life. Sia willingly gives up her life because she already had enough happiness through being with Rin and wants to give that chance to Kikyo. This doesn't really work because Kikyo doesn't want that at all. She just wants to be recognized, which is when Rin decides to give her something that nobody else even thought to. A name. Kikyo isn't named Kikyo until the end of the game after Rin kisses her. Up until that point, she's just called Reverse Sia. Rin takes a serious injury from Kikyo leading up to this, explaining that he doesn't love Kikyo in that manner, but that she deserves to be known as someone independent. And then the epilogue hits. At that point, Sia and Kikyo are awake at the same time and switch depending on who wants to talk, which is a decision, to be honest. I have no strong opinions one way or the other. The way the anime handles it is super different. Kikyo is already named that and isn't necessarily Sia's dark side, but more like an entirely different personality. It boils over when Kikyo comes out once to mess with Rin because Sia wasn't being as aggressive in her pursuit of love. Sia kinda resents being the main personality and doesn't want to be happy if it means Kikyo can't also. So things boil over and Kikyo relinquishes control back to Sia and essentially leaves the story? Like, she dies and isn't mentioned as a part of Sia's psyche at all after episode 17, which is insane to me. In a sense, though, that's kind of what the anime does with the central theme of Shuffle, which I will get to a lot later. What I think the VN does a lot better is integrating Kikyo into the relationship that Rin has with Sia, because there's a whole thing about Rin noticing when it's not his girlfriend. You can tell by the way the eyes are shaped too, not to mention Kikyo's backward-facing ahoge in CG art. And I'll get more into this when I get into the anime proper and not just listing off differences, but I understand why things had to be this way. Kikyo not having a name unless you already go down Sia's route, but still being super essential to her character, it's no wonder why they already had her named in the anime. I don't lament the decision, but I do think it sucks that Sia's ancestry is completely lost in adaptation. So, one of the things I liked most about Sia's character is that duality she has with both of her sides. Which parts come from her father and which parts come from her biological mother. Though, I'm leaning on the fact that her mothers are all good people. I like that the VN makes mention that their whole family is actually living at that house rather than just her in Eustoma. In general, I like cheery characters, which is why I gravitated to Sia the most. I like her little violent side where she, very comedically, beats her dad with a chair for being weird.
Sia's got a cute body and you better have the energy!
Dad, gross! Don't say things like that!
I like how she flirts with Rin. It's more comedic and sweet in tone rather than be overtly trying to nut. She honestly reminds me of my first girlfriend back in high school. A person I'm still friends with to this day, though he goes by a different name now. I don't know what that says about me, but Sia stands out, to me, as the correct girl for Rin. I think that Rin's self-sacrificial nature, combined with his light flirtiness and willingness to protect those he cares about at all costs, is what makes their relationship the most satisfying to me. I really like how he gives Sia and Kikyo what they want by the end of their route, which is so simple yet so effective. I feel like a serialized story with Sia as the ending, unlike what the anime did, would have worked just as well. By giving Kikyo her name, it finally does give her the one thing she's lacked. It's not Sia's dark side, it's Kikyo. They're two very distinct personalities, and I think that both of them being able to communicate with Rin at the same time is kinda heartwarming. It's actually the main reason I want an English patch to be released for the PC update to Shuffle, called Essence Plus. It adds in a part where Kikyo can get a whole new body, allowing her to be actually free. It also adds in a Kareha and Mayumi route, along with a few other characters, but I'm really interested in Kareha and Mayumi. They're so much fun and they don't get explored as much as I'd want them to be.
1, 2, 3.
Hey everybody! So as you can see in the beautiful presence of my dear wife Lucy Pyre.
Okay, so there was this one time at band camp, this one girl, she used her flute for you know what.
I'm in a new space, a brand new space, and I'm coming at you as an intermission between the Sia section and the Kaede section because I had to set up a whole new recording space, unlike my last one where everything was like super perfect. It's not totally done yet, unfortunately. There's still a bit of echo. I need to purchase a new curtain for the wall over there behind the camera. I wish I could show you what it's actually behind the camera. It's going to be a little recording space for my gaming channel, which, as I'm sure you know, it's also where I stream video games. It's called the SADBOIS Radio, not the SADBOIS Vivo anymore. We retired that joke. I also recognize, hey, maybe we need a bit of a break in between some of these sections, because I think at the time that this is going to be inserted into the video, it's like 20 minutes long, and I'm already adding onto it with this, and I keep adding more shit to the script because I'm insatiable. So, I haven't ever gone into this. This is like the 4th space I've been in since I've started the space show. I've always wanted to be a YouTuber. When I really wanted to get into making YouTube videos as, like, a full-time hobby, I guess, I was living in a different part of the city that I live in, and then some things happened. I had to move out. I moved in with my co-host for a little while, my co-host Dante, over on the SADBOIS Radio, and I've told him many times I cannot appreciate what he and his girlfriend did for me during that time, because it was maybe one of the roughest times in my adult life having to do that. But we bounced back for a lot of things. We had another place, the third place that I'm thinking of since I started the space show, but that wasn't a really great place. If I showed you any footage, if I have any footage of it there when I first moved in, it was echoey as shit. I bought a bunch of foam, and I just decorated the walls. All it did was reduce the echo, which is, you know, what I wanted. But then in the closet, I decided to build a little actual recording booth. Here's a couple photos of what it looked like inside the booth. It was a little more insular. It was really hot in there, so I always had to have way more water than I do now when recording. But because I moved into this new space, it's not that I don't have the space to build another recording booth. It's just that I kind of don't want to. I kind of just want to be at my desk doing things. If I can use the mic stand in other places, that's not a big deal. But ever since I moved into this new place, I figured I wanted to, when I was moving, I decided to put the Shuffle project on hold so that I could actually move house and stuff like that, and blah blah bloopity. I'm here now. It is a much better place. It is a much quieter neighborhood. The audio in this place itself, without any of the sound home, is actually already pretty good, but there's still a bit of echo in the room, even with all the foam that I've got on the walls. This is just behind my desk and stuff like that. You can hear it in the next bit of the recording because I didn't want to delay this project until like April. I want to get this video out in late March if I can. Late March. It remains to see. There's a lot left to edit. Oh, by the way, thank you for 100,000 views on the RPG Maker video. That is genuinely insane. It is the first video I have ever made to ever reach 100,000 views. I low-key wish that more videos got there. It's fine, it's fine, it's fine. It doesn't bother me. It doesn't bother me. But, yeah, no, 100,000 views. Genuinely more than I expected that video to get. I did not give it the chance when I released it. I totally expected it to just flop on the ground. But it was a video I had been wanting to make for a very long time. And it's something I'm very passionate about. RPG Maker, I should say. I love those game engines with all of their flaws and stuff like that. But, yeah, that's why I'm hoping this video does pretty well. I'm putting a lot of effort into this one, and because I did put a lot of effort into the RPG Maker one, but I'm putting a lot more effort into this one, so, yeah, that remains to be seen. So, in the video, I talk a lot about visual novels and, like, how they do, and I make fun of visual novel gameplay and, like, the routes. I don't know if I make fun of them. I have to reread the script every time I basically get back to editing. It's really funny revisiting the manga anime that inspired some of the jokes in this video. The World God Only Knows. Fucking amazing title, by the way. I love that title. But it's weird revisiting that and, like, seeing the main character talk about conquering girls and, like, oh, you might have a bit of trouble, like, getting to this route, blah 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 blah. And it makes me wonder, like is he playing visual novels or is he playing dating sims? Because I hope I've made it very clear there is a distinct difference, but there's a distinct difference, but he makes it seem like all he's playing is dating sims. But then you watch the anime or you read the manga and it's supposed to be fucking visual novels, and it's like, oh, you know, actually capturing this girl's heart and whatever, and I'm like, bro, what the fuck are you talking about? Because when visual novels that I've played have generally been very linear, not a whole lot of choice involved. Maybe some dialogue choices. I mean, I don't know. I'm not as big of a visual novel. I say this in the video. I'm not as big of a visual novel fan as I might come across in a video where I'm talking about a visual novel and blah blah bloobity. Fucking read the visual novel for Fate. It's pretty good. But when it comes to romantic themed visual novels, I'm sitting here wondering, like, are there ones in Japan that are intentionally made more difficult to get to the endings, right? Or there's bad endings. And I don't know, maybe I'm thinking about like Katawa Shoujo, where it's like it's very easy and encouraged to get on character routes and then fuck them up so you get on other character routes, or if you just fuck them all up, you get on the, what's his name, Kenji route, your quote-unquote best friend in Katawa Shoujo. I don't fucking know at this point. But like, in order to get onto the Hanako route, you have to fuck up Lily. In order to get to the, what's her name? Pink bitch? Misha? Yeah, in order to get onto Misha's route, you have to fuck up is it Shizuku or Shizuka? The girl with no arms. You have to fuck up Emi's route, and that doesn't make sense to me. By the way, Emi is best girl. So, I don't know. when it comes to stuff like that, and that's part of why I just looked up a fucking guide to get to the rest of the routes, which I do mention in the next section because I just didn't want to fucking deal with it, because I don't want to have to deal with beating my head against a fucking wall in order to get onto another route of the same fucking video game. I just wanted to experience all the stories, and I don't know, I don't even know if there's like a bad ending in the game, or like a default route, because I think the default route is the Kaede route, because I remember reading somewhere if you tried to do the Primlo route, beat for beat, but you hadn't beaten the Sia, Kaede, and Narune routes, you would be automatically locked to the Kaede route, which I think is fucking weird. So I think there was a point in the beginning of the video where I talk about Itsuki and how much of a fucking cum stain he is, because it's shown multiple occasions throughout the visual novel that people are tired of his shit just trying to pick up women and something like that. And I'll admit, I was tired of his shit too, just throughout the entire game, because it was just really annoying, because he's just like, oh, you know, Rin, you have to understand the hearts of women. The beginning scene of Shuffle, and it's burnt into my memory, because it paints a shitty picture of Itsuki and the King of Demons, right? So it's Itsuki and the King of Demons. You don't even know he's the King of Demons, right? And I do mention this. He's just called Handsome Man at the beginning. So Itsuki and Handsome Man, which is the King of Demons, Forbesi, they're just looking at women on the street and just talking to each other, being like, oh yes, that one is 80 points. No, it's just like, he's like, oh yeah, that one is 80 points. And then Forbesi comes up and he's like, no, young man, you can't actually give somebody 80 points, because that means there's only 20 points above them. You have to be a bit more realistic. And so Itsuki's just like, I guess I'll break them down to 75 then. And Forbesi's is like, yes. And then what is her name? Midoriba? No, not Midoriba. What is her name? The fucking teacher who wears a leopard print bathing suit, a leopard print bikini, to the school fucking pool because she's watching it for some fucking reason. She is sitting there, and she comes up and be like, oh, you have time to fuck around? I'm gonna kick your ass, and just drags him away. And I don't know what's going on here. Why would they introduce the characters like this? There's a better way to introduce Itsuki to the thing, and that's what the anime does. They just naturally show him at school after dealing with the fucking KKK. I go into this during the anime section. It's gonna come back. They literally have an organization called the KKK in the anime's English dub. In Japanese, it's 3K. They call it, they say it's just like, 3K. Kito Kito Kaede, because in Japanese it's Kito Kito Kaede, and then Sia, because there's a fan club around Kaede, and then Sia and Narune get fan clubs, and in the visual novel, Rin comes up with them in their head, but in the anime, it's they do canonize it because like all the people in the fan club name themselves. So in Japanese, it's the SSS and the RRR, right? SSS is Suki Suki Sia, and RRR is Ran Ran Rina. No, Ran Ran Rin-chan. I can't do it. I can't. Oh, my cat wants out of the room. So it's Ran Ran Rin-chan in Japanese. And then, oh god. So they changed the names in the English dub for the better, by the way, where it's like, I only remember Narune's because like hers becomes Rina's Randy Raiders. I remember the acronyms, but I remember like what they call themselves. It's like Rina's Security Shock Troopers, and they just show up like fully dressed in combat gear with guns, ready to fight for Narune. And like you first see them, and one of the guys gets an upskirt shot of Narune. I'm just like, okay, 2007, I see you. It was bad, but like I guess it's a bit more just. It was already justified when they're bothering Rin, that Narune just blasts them away with magic. But like it's even more justified when they're being like weird voyeuristic perverts that she just absolutely just fucking kills them. But it's Rina's Randy Raiders, Sexy Sia's soldiers, which is fucking weird for high schoolers. Like, I don't know, maybe I'm weird. I never spoke about any, when I was in high school, I'm trying to remember. I'll ask my friends who knew me in high school. It's like, did I ever refer to other high schoolers as sexy? Like that specific word, sexy. And then they in the English dub, Kito Kito Kaede, which is the one that's the only one in the visual novel that has an actual fucking name for some fucking reason. Kito Kito Kaede became the Knights of Kissy Kaede, and they always say it's just like, we are the KKK, not the guys in the weird sheets though, which that is so self-aware. I think they kind of had to go with it when the translators were just like, oh, we are 3K, and then the translators who had to localize it, because localization isn't a net bad thing, you fucking morons. When they localized it, they realized they couldn't avoid a fucking clan reference, right? So they just had to be just super vigilant about saying, like, every time that the Kito Kito Kaede, the 3K is brought up, they always go, not the guys in the weird sheets. I just think that's a really funny joke. And of course, it drops off by episode 12, these physical comedy guys. But I just think it's really funny that they let it get that far. I mean, in most visual novels turned anime, they do drop the comedy as it goes on and as they go on a concrete route. That's why people like Clanad so much, because they're fucking wrong. I mean, I don't know. I guess there's a reason why I like canon as much more than Clanad, even though canon has its problems too. So anyway, I'm gonna get into it when I do the Primo section, but like, I think it's important that they showed off Itsuki just being a cum stain. I don't know. I was kind of distracted. I guess it's important that they show that Itsuki's kind of a cum stain at the beginning, like through all of the routes, and then once you do the assumedly final route, which is Primula's, that's how it is in the CG viewer, but once you do Primula's route, they show what kind of person he really is, you know, what he's supposed to be. I never even mentioned, like, the most infuriating thing about him. It's not him, like, being a womanizer and constantly trying to pick up women, and his weird fucking hobby being picking up women, which I still to this day don't understand. Like, is that a pickup artist thing? Is that a womanizer thing? I don't know. I just don't, I don't actively seek women. They kind of come to me because they like my autistic swag. It's really funny I say that because of the two things on my microphone. They represent people. They represent the people who I dedicate my videos to, Crow and Aura. Crow is a little Joltik. Here, I'm gonna show you. There we go. Yay, autofuck. Ah, fuck. Yay, Joltik. Yeah, so the Joltik represents my friend Crow, because for the longest time, they have been associated with the Pokemon Joltik for me. And then there's a cute little bunny rabbit. The bunny rabbit is, of course, to represent my friend Aura, who is a very dear friend of mine. They're both very dear friends of mine, and I don't know, maybe I'll send them this little clip in the video of me saying it with my actual face. With my, yeah. I guess one more thing before I get the fuck out of here and let get back to the weird-ass audio of the Kaede, Narune, Asa, and Primo sections and the end of the video is, check this out! I have a merch! Why did my fucking air conditioner kick on? But check it out, I have a merch. This is the Space Show logo in white. This is my favorite way to wear it. I don't have any others, unfortunately, but I like it in white. I like it in this shade of purple. You can buy them at the store, linked in the description. I have very frequently, maybe not frequently, I have very briefly shown my friend Aura wearing it. She's really cute, don't you think? Here is another friend of mine absolutely slaying the look. I am not allowed to say that. I am nearly 30. I am a 30-year-old autistic Filipino man. I can't be saying shit like slay. And hey, if you got through to this point in the video, put down KFC chicken nugget in the comment. Do it. I really want a famous bowl right now. I'm just going to go in the order I played the routes in, so Kaede's next. I feel bad because I don't feel anything for her, like, at all. After completing Sia's route and forcing myself to look at a guide to get the rest of them, don't fucking judge me, I've got things to do! I realize there's a lot of things throughout the game meant to entice you to go through other routes after the current one, whichever one it is. It also makes me realize, I think Sia's the default option? In the before times, you see small pieces of character writing meant to make you feel something for the other girls. Except for Asa, but we'll get to that. You have to take care of Kaede when she gets sick, but that leads to Sia coming to cook for you, and you get this cute CG of her cooking. This doesn't happen, really, with any of the other girls. I mean, it makes sense for Kaede not to get one because she's always there, aside from the one of her waking you up in the morning or her in bed needing to rest. Narune doesn't get one except for her character introduction or trying to feed you at lunch. There's nothing exceptionally characteristic here, except for the part where she says she doesn't like singing and Rin thinks about how that's a bit of a mental hole because that's how you meet her in the first place. Asa gets nothing. Like, it's almost as if she's a side character in her own game, except that she's on marketing material and you see that she's an available heroine at the end of the game anyway with the CG viewer, so like, fuck man, I don't know. So, back to Kaede. Okay, so she's probably my least favorite heroine in the entire game, and it's because she feels like such a forced option. Like, even more than Primula does at some points. I understand her character a lot, she's probably the heroine I relate to the most for better and worse, but it's precisely because of that that I think she's the least viable option for Rin. The thing is, her character is done way better in the anime, and it's here that I'm really gonna wait to get into why that is when I talk about it. For now, let's get into what makes her so weird to me. The crux of her character is how she doesn't forgive herself for how she treated Rin 8 years before the story started, and how she doesn't forgive herself for the death of her mother and Rin's parents. For context, when they were 9 years old, Rin's parents and Kaede's mother went on a bit of a trip somewhere. Kaede got sick while they were out, and all 3 of them died in an accident coming back home. Rin, knowing exactly how Kaede would act if she knew that she was the reason they came home, told her that it was actually his fault. In the earliest chronological example of Rin's self-sacrificial nature, Kaede turns on him and tries to genuinely hurt him, throwing knives in the VN. It's a bit more graphic in the anime, they show exactly what Kaede does. Rin eventually tells the truth of the matter, however, essentially having already forgiven her for acting out against what she thought was wrong, and Kaede basically turns right around and starts taking care of Rin at all costs. She does the cooking, the cleaning, everything. It became her life's purpose to care for Rin, and refuses to let him help out. It's stated multiple times that Rin has to use flirtation tactics or just forcing help onto her before she can really accept it. Either that, or she literally can't do anything while she's sick, so she's forced to not. And yeah, I do mean flirting because she's totally into Rin, and he knows it. I'm not sure where the line sits between her being his caretaker and her being in love with the guy, but there's... That's not normal, right? Like, am I missing something here? Am I too autistic for this? And before anyone says anything, it's not like he's exploiting Kaede. At least I don't think that that's the intention. He's genuinely so willing to help out around the house, do things for Kaede as a fellow human being, but she refuses to let him do so. She considers it an attack on her self-image to take the chance to do things for him away, and I don't think I vibe with that as much as any writer would want me to. So it's implied that Kaede kinda lets more of her romantic intent with Rin show after Sia and Narune are introduced to the story, and yeah, that makes sense. They're romantic rivals after all, but it's not like Rin's really going anywhere. In fact, it's almost like him being with Kaede simultaneously rips relationships apart rather than bringing them together. When you enter Kaede's route, Sia and Narune basically stop showing up, even though assumedly they're all still friends? Oh fuck. Their dads show up to tell Rin that he should enter a polyamorous relationship, which like, I mean, the anime makes a more direct statement when Mayumi calls the girls in his class his girlfriends. In the VN, she just calls the 3 of them the Tsuchimi lovers, and I'm like, you're not wrong, but outright calling them all his girlfriends is a punchier statement, you dig? I think that Kaede's character arc, culminating in self-forgiveness for things that were both within and without her control as a literal 9-year-old, is compelling in a sense. I think that the reason she went to serving Rin as a form of self-punishment and self-loathing is compelling. I can't say I don't personally understand that. I'm saying that I don't like how it's only at the end of the route where this happens. I know that compelling storytelling is all about having the resolution at the end, but I feel like even slightly earlier with her forgiving herself, and then even further when she truly relents and lets Rin love her, I don't know. I think that that'd make for a better story. I would have loved to have seen Sia and Narene's reactions to this too, like, what do they think of the two who have lived together finally being a couple and whatnot? I don't say this very often, and I'm sorry to any Kaede fans out there, but I feel like this is one of the relationships that should have stayed platonic. Or at the very least, it needed a lot of rewrites. This is also the story that feels the most like it's trying to get you horny? Does that make sense? Kaede's route feels like it's trying to get you off the most. Scenes where she accidentally flashes Rin after sewing his shirt to her skirt, or walking in on Kaede in the bathroom, shit like that. Sia's most fan service-like moment is either this CG where she's cooking for you, or this one where Rin's sitting in her lap.
Not me forgetting this to lover-ass moment. Holy shit!
I feel nothing for Kaede as a romantic partner for Rin, which sucks. What sucks even more is how, when you go on her route, they remove Primula entirely. She goes to live with Narene to not intrude on Rin and Kaede being lovebirds and whatnot, and that just made me so mad? Because part of the anime, at least, was Rin and Kaede's shared love of Primula as part of their family. Like, Primula made them a real unit, if that makes sense. And I really liked that angle. I liked it a lot. Primula's presence is a net gain to both of them. And I feel like her being there when Kaede is going through the realization that she doesn't have to bear hating herself as much as she did would have done wonders. It sucks she isn't here. Going on Kaede's route and removing a character entirely, rather than introducing a new one from the past or from the present, or even just showing a new side to the character, it doesn't make for a great experience, if that makes sense. I'm definitely going to get into this later, but part of the core identity of Shuffle's main heroines is how divided they feel between both halves of their identity and how those things tear them up inside. There's another facet to the characters that gets revealed when you're on their route, one that's hidden in plain sight, one that's entirely a secret, or even one that's spoken of multiple times beforehand. Kaede lacks this about her, except in the anime where it becomes the main focus as she realizes that she's losing Rin to someone. That someone being Asa. There was a website, I think it was the fandom wiki, that called it her yandere side, and I kinda don't like that descriptor, much as it works as effective shorthand. Sia has Kikyo, Narene has Licorice, Asa has her refusal of her demon side and magic, Primula lives because she's a creation of demons and gods, and Kaede has self-hatred manifesting as acts of service? It doesn't hit the same. And I have to emphasize that I don't say this because I misunderstand Kaede, I say it because I very deeply understand where she's coming from. She's the character who's most like me, and it's a bit embarrassing to admit that. Playing through Sia's route honestly felt a bit basic. I love everything about her character, the distinct sadness that undertones her dialogue when she's choosing to leave the person she loves for the sake of someone else, despite knowing the feelings are mutual. Her distinct desire to make her sister happy too, and how, in the end, everything is okay because both girls are allowed to exist simultaneously. I also just love her personality. I like how she sounds, and have I mentioned her English voice actress? Oh my god, it has a certain texture to it that I eat the fuck up! Kaede felt a lot more forced. I know I just mentioned it, but it was way more like I was going through basic romance story motions, even more than Sia. It's hard to pinpoint why exactly, but playing through Kaede's story felt a lot more like I'm just kind of there. Like, yep, this is happening for some reason. It's why Narene genuinely felt like such a breath of fresh air in comparison. Honestly, I think she was the developer favorite. It's on Narene's route that I really started feeling the sameness that comes with the beginning part of the game, before your route is locked into place. It's also when I realized that the two choices you click on at the beginning really are the ones that matter the most. You ask Mayumi about either Sia or Narene, and then Asa asks which of the girls you're interested in the most, those being either Sia, Narene, Kaede, or someone else. I haven't tested this, but in order to get to any other route in the game, you have to pick the option for Sia at the start. It's only when you're going for the Narene story that you pick Narene for that beginning question. Maybe I'm spoiled by literally any other game that has dialogue choices, but I feel like there could have been more here. Like, one of the things about dialogue choices that doesn't get brought up a whole lot is that they all are things that your character are actively thinking of responding with. Should you be playing something that lets you see exactly what you're saying, like Fallout? I get that not everyone wants to have that kind of experience. They want to choose which path they go on and then blah blah blah, see what happens next. I'm not asking for a simple Renpai-ass game, this game wasn't made Renpai, to have an intricate relationship system that has ups and downs, putting you on different routes depending on how exactly you play. That's not my issue. I do think that more dialogue in the in-between where you help choose how things go, even if it's just for the moment, would do wonders. There's inconsequential decisions here and there too, ones that apparently I did wrong looking at this fuck-ass guide, so I don't know what the deal was. It's especially in the parts where you're already on the route that don't help with how this kind of feels. Like, Sia's route has on-route choices, but that's because it relates to Kikyo, and even then, those choices just change whether or not you interact with Sia or Kikyo in one scene. Like, maybe I would have liked it if you could choose where Rin and a girl went on a date, or how a CG played out more than... That all being said, I really liked Narune's route. As I was playing through what I would consider the core 3 girls' routes, it was incredible to me in retrospect how they tied up all the threads for the anime adaptation. I'm not sure how Primula's route goes on as of this point, but I'm not sure how Primula's route goes on as of this point, but they tie that in wonderfully too. Narune and Sia both play with twin identities, separate but living in the same body. Sia and Kikyo, and Narune and Licorice. I mentioned Licorice earlier in the Kaede section, so if you were confused, here you go. Narune and Primula are so intertwined that in the anime, both of their respective storylines are melded together for something very rounded out, so to speak. Now let me explain. The idea of demons and gods coming together to create something was introduced to the reader when Primula was introduced. Primula is told to be the third experiment. The first one was a demon that was given more magical power, but died due to it. The second one was a clone of a demon that already had a lot of magical power, and that demon was Narune. Her clone was Licorice. Long story short, 8 years before the story began, the king of the demons had to go to the human world on business and had to bring his daughter, but couldn't because she was very sick. In Narune's place was Licorice during that time. This is a bombshell of a revelation because it's the only one that's really shown to the player. We see very distinctly Rin's memories of a demon girl he played with as a child, and Rin has to put together who he met and when. It's this whole thing where Narune wants to let Rin know the truth, but doesn't want him to end up disliking her or something. That part's not explicitly stated. This is all important because Narune's body couldn't keep up with her own magic, so Licorice willingly gave up her life force to fuse with Narune's so that the actual demon princess could continue living. Licorice died shortly after meeting Rin for the first time. Rin, however, is shown to have to grow whole new relationships with the girls around him, so in his mind, he's always been attracted to Narune specifically. Sure, he has fond memories of Licorice, but that doesn't paint his relationship with the blue-haired girl now, yeah? This news is broken to Rin at different times in the anime and the VN, and I think it's better handled in the anime because they had to compress multiple route storylines together to create one narrative. That, and it's also more thematically appropriate. Licorice's favorite thing to do was singing. That's like her thing, you know? But when Licorice and Narune merged, Narune inherited everything about Licorice. Her memories, her feelings, and her talents, notably singing. It's why there was that bit in the before times where she mentions that she hates singing. It's not her thing, if that makes sense. It's also why Narune originally harbored feelings for Rin in the first place, despite never meeting him. They're remnants of Licorice in her body. There's 3 times that Narune sings in the whole game. The first time when she's meeting Rin for the first time, the second when he's being a bit of a voyeur and she's just singing in the park, and then the third is in Narune's epilogue where she's embraced who she really is and is singing for other people on the school roof. In the anime, the second time she's found singing is during the whole sick Primula thing. I'll get there when I get there. So it was important that Narune explained who she actually was because it related to Primula being sick in the first place. It's important that it happens as she's singing too, because it makes a bit more sense that something so integral to Licorice as a character, what little we see of her, is the thing that sets off the character understanding that Rin gets. It's then, later after this revelation happens and everything is mostly okay, that Narune can accept that she's fallen for Rin. She's not living with the memories that Licorice gave her, she's formed that opinion as Narune, and I think that that's really wonderful. In the VN, Narune sings for a second time and nothing really happens outside of Rin wondering why the hell someone who can sing such beautiful music can hate it so much. It's a bit of a mental hole, as I said it before. There's a point where he tries asking her father if something is up, and he just goes, "I can't tell you that." And that's reasonable? Like, yeah, it makes sense that something so intimate wouldn't be up to him to tell, and it's later still that Narune reveals what happened. In that same moment when Narune lets Rin in on the Licorice detail, after he had put it together himself that he only met Narune the 3 months before, is when Narune says that she has feelings as herself. And on one hand, I think that all of this coming together as it does in the VN makes sense, yeah? It's tragic when the girl you spent all this time getting to know is sitting here saying that she doesn't deserve to be with you because she hasn't been true to herself the entire time. She's gearing up to fully leave because she doesn't believe that there's anything true to herself at this moment, and I feel that. But at the same time, I think Narune coming to the realization that her feelings are her own, after she's essentially saved by Licorice's influence for the final time, see saving Primula, I think it hits a bit better. That all being said, I have come to the realization I really loved how Narune's route was written in a macro sense. Even after the moment where things get fully set in stone, it feels like I'm witnessing actual young love form, if that makes sense. Moments where it's natural that things come together in the way that they do. It's also this route that made me realize that I fucking love Mayumi and the King of Demons, man. They're so funny! Mayumi in the Sia and Kaede routes is so much more like just a sniveling little informant, which is great and super fitting, but during Narune's route, she's just really funny. The way she teases Rin about romantic happenings, and then when they're out together at a cafe and Rin sees Narune and invites her inside and Mayumi kinda just melts away, it's excellent. It's actually like two teenagers are in love with each other, and it makes other moments bounce off of each other and create a nice little relationship. This is gonna be counter to what I said in the Kaede route, but it's not. Narune is absolutely the most fan service heavy route, and that's without question. Now, Kaede was the route trying to get you horny. This is the route that's trying to make Narune fans feel good and scream out, "Fuck!"
She's so fucking cute, man!
And that's a very 2010s weeb type of response, I get that, but no other route in the game takes a look at any of its characters and twice goes, "Let's put her in something cute for the express purpose of showing off." And both times, Narune Clock said it was her dad putting her up to this, and the second time Rin thanks the literal Demon King for the treat. I think it's fun, is what I'm really saying. Narune's route was really fun, and it was really nice to see a story that feels a lot more like a relationship coming together, and relieving the baggage that comes with a truth being revealed. Sure, it's annoying that they don't talk it out sooner, but it's not for a lack of trying, and it's not for a lack of trust in the other person. It's not as if any character from any part of this game at any point resents Narune or Rin for not speaking up. I love that shit. Primula's story only unlocks after you complete Sia, Narune, and Kaede's path first, so I had to wait until at least this point to get here. Let's go. Narune and Primula's paths together make for such an interesting thing. I don't know how to describe it. They both go over the same things when it comes to Narune, her clone Licorice, and Primula's role in all of this. It's so interesting how much it feels like the last route in the game, the one you're meant to do after you've done everything else, because it kind of helps recontextualize everything. And aside from ending up dating Primula, it kind of feels canon. Like, it's the route that proves that Itsuki, while absolutely a scumbag who needs to be put on a leash, is at his core a half-decent human being. It's also where the anime takes a big scoop of making shit up so everything is included, and I can applaud that, kind of. During the before times of every possible route, Primula has to get taken back to the Demon Realm in order to get a checkup of sorts. This isn't a big deal for sure, but it's in Primula's route proper where things get really interesting. It's not until the end of the anime that Primula finally shows off all her emotions. Like, after the major incident that defines the middle of the anime, she has some of them, but in the VN, oh my god, it's almost instant. So in the VN, Primula on a couple of occasions walked outside and waited for Licorice to come pick her up since that had happened when they were children. It's at that point that Rin says to her that Licorice isn't coming, and she never will. and he recognizes the actual pain that Primula has been feeling inside of her this entire time. The pain of feeling alone, the inability to express herself in any meaningful way, and that all comes out in this wonderful scene where she breaks down and just holds on to Rin because he's all she's really got. Him and Kaede, of course. I can't help but love that she chooses to treat Rin and Kaede as her older siblings. It's thematically appropriate that she finds family in these people because that's what she's been truly needing this entire time. It's then that her emotions come out in full, and she's basically a regular girl. And I fucking love that! Hi, Future Sonata here. It's like February when I'm adding this because this video is taking a long time to come out. I don't think I've made special exception to talk about the actual voice acting in the visual novel, but I wanted to mention something when I went to get some pickup footage for talking shit about Itsuki. So I've made it pretty clear that licorice is important to both Narine and Primula, but it's interesting how far back that's hinted at, but isn't even shown to the player. Like, you can't literally read it in her words, you have to hear them. Both in the anime and in the VN, Primula says,
Nerine, 知ってる? Liko. You know, Nerine, Liko. Nerine, 知ってる?
And you get the impression that she might say Rin or something. It's more obvious in the English dub that she's trying to say licorice because, as I'm sure I explained at some point, licorice told both Primula and Narine about Rin in the human world, and is where she made the connection and wanted to come see him for herself. I just think it's really cool how subtle it is in the VN. Like, I wouldn't have even noticed it because I read faster than the voice actors say things. I set this stuff on autoplay so I could go make a sandwich while I recorded footage. Anyway, back to me in January writing this. And this is also after she's enrolled in school with everyone else, confirming that she's actually around the same age as them. That's a thing that doesn't happen until the end of the anime. Like, last 3 minutes of the anime end. The weird thing about her enrolling in school is that she only does it in her route, which I guess makes sense since the school itself is kind of integral to the end of the story. So, at some point, Rin breaks his arm and he thinks to go to Kareha to heal it up a bit faster since she specializes in healing magic. At that point, Primula instantly heals it herself since being with Rin and learning how to regulate her own emotions and magic was part of the reason she was even allowed to stay in the human world in the first place. Like, she came to the human world to meet Rin, and the kings of demons and gods figured it'd be good for her to learn how to control all of that by being around someone who could help her learn emotion. It's at this point that both kings go, hey, shit, now that she can use magic without blowing anything up, we gotta take her back and experiment on her. And this might be the biggest departure from the VN that the anime takes. In the anime, Primula gets really sick, and the only real way to cure her is by taking her back to the demon realm and putting her back into the pod thing. Stuff happens, Rin and friends head into the demon realm themselves to make a plea with the kings and such, and it all eventually ends up with Primula being okay and having her emotions. In the VN, at this point, Rin and Primula are dating. Rin already knows how he feels about Primula, and when this thing about her needing to go back to the demon realm to essentially be tested on comes about, obviously he and Primula both reject it. But it's not like they can defy the literal will of the kings of demons and gods, yeah? So the two kings wipe his memory of Primula entirely, but only his. It's like an effort to spare someone the hurt of losing someone, you dig? And it's at this point when Itsuki proves he's not the actual worst. Everyone in Rin's friend group knows that something is seriously wrong with him. Brother can barely make it throughout the day without looking dejected, which isn't what he used to be like before Primula existed, yeah? So while everyone understands that they need to do something, Itsuki is the one who comes up with the concrete plan. He makes a bet with both kings, putting his literal life on the line just to give Rin and Primula a fighting chance, bringing Sia and Narine into the fold as his collateral, essentially offering up the fact that Sia is the cook of the household and that Forbesi is a wife guy, and a girl dad. You don't see the wife guy part in the VN, but still. Yustoma and Forbesi both actually threaten Itsuki, saying stuff about how they can unmake him if they really want to. The balls on this guy. The part that made me love this moment, which I hope was the intention, was that even through all the shit that Rin and everyone in the story deals with, Itsuki cares about every single one of them. The "I'm Rin's friend" line at the end of the whole interaction sold me. And after all that, I can't go on genuinely hating the guy, yeah? I mean, I don't think he's a great guy, but he's not as bad as he had been the entire time. The game that Itsuki wants to play with the Kings is to have Primula go up to Rin and just see if he remembers her. Up until that pivotal point, Primula had been actively avoiding being anywhere near Rin, even moving in with Narune for the time being to stay away. It's so heart-tugging, kind of? Seeing this girl desperately hope for someone that she loves so much to simply just remember that she exists, recall who she is, so that she doesn't have to be alone anymore. She still wants to be seen, since that was kind of the whole point in the first place. Rin saw her, and that's why her emotions came out originally, and that's why it's so nice to see Rin turn around and hug Primula and just fully remember her. It's... okay, walk with me here. I can't find the chapter because there's a lot of them, but there's a scene in Tsubasa Reservoir Chronicle. Stay with me! There's a scene in Tsubasa Reservoir Chronicle where Mokona mentions the 2 types of memory and such. And stuff happens where I think Kurogane does something, and the cast wonders exactly why he did it, and Mokona explains that it's body memory. And that's kinda what happens here. Rin's brain didn't necessarily remember Primula, but by seeing her and being near her, something inside of him made him move to hold her, and I don't know, I just really love that. It's hard to fully make my case without you, whoever's listening, having treaded through the ups and downs of 3 other character routes and why this means so much to me. It's like, how do I properly convey how much of this feels like a narrative and complete ending to a game that even I haven't finished? And especially so because it's not anywhere close to a quote-unquote canon route, if that makes sense. 4 of the 5 main heroines get expanded routes in follow-up games. Narune gets one to herself, Kaede gets one to herself, and then there's Shuffled Love Essence, which also continues Kaede's continuation, or continues on from Sia's from an expanded re-release of the first game called Essence Plus, or just continues Primula's from the original game. And then, after that, Jesus Christ, we're still going, it's a 100-year time skip where it's apparently canon that Sia ended up with Rin, but then they say that there's a bunch of timelines where Rin ended up with different girls and whatnot. What if that is real? I don't know. I can't read this shit. None of that is here or there. I just want to convey how much I liked this route. I like seeing Primula learn how to emote properly. I like how Itsuki comes together as Rin's friend at the end. I also think it's more thematically appropriate that Sia and Narune also chime in with knowing that they can still date Rin if they really, really wanted, and if he wanted to as well. I love Rin's relationship with all the girls here, not least of which being Primula. I'm not the biggest fan of her still calling him older brother if they're dating, but you know what? Anime. I have a high tolerance for some anime bullshit. Asa Shigure. Huh. You know what, I didn't expect to like this one half as much as I did. I think I said that I was going to cover this when I covered the anime, but I lied. I'm doing a whole section on her. I kind of enjoyed how simple of a relationship this was. I mean, it still has its complexities, moments where I didn't know exactly where the story was going, but the relationship itself was something I really enjoyed. I say that I don't understand exactly where it was going because I had felt the stinging bite of being an anime first watcher, but consider that there might have been no other option. I mentioned it because it's relevant, but Asa was the prospective winner in the anime, so I was just curious as to how this played out. I felt more shadows of the anime from this playthrough and Primula's playthrough than anything else. To that end, I want to explain the first kiss that these two share because I think it's really sweet. It's after Rin finds out Asa's biggest secret, that she's actually the daughter of a demon. He puts it together after seeing a photo of her and her mom, which is way different than how it was in the anime. Rin tells Asa about why exactly Kaede used to hate him in the past, since that's a thing that she picked up on with her interactions with Kaede. How he realized that putting the blame on himself helped Kaede in a way, since she was harboring a lack of will to live. When their parents died, he stayed strong, even against a myriad of horrible things that Kaede did to him, all because he felt it was better if she had any reason to keep living, even if it meant that he was hated by her. And after experiencing that explanation in both the anime and the VN, it makes you wonder how this guy stayed so strong all these years, yeah? A young man who, at all costs, takes it upon himself to help people. One who carries much of his friends' burdens in place of them if he can, or sacrifices his own happiness for the sake of others. An inability to be specific because he wants to potentially make everyone happy. You see the consequences of those actions more in the anime due to them structuring it more in a harem sense rather than an individual route sense, but it's still interesting to see the wing beats from the VN ripple out into the hurricane that is the anime. I don't mean that in a bad way necessarily. It's after this explanation from Rin's own mouth that Asa's like, you know what, I kinda treated this a bit too lightly, and she decides to kiss him as a little reward, so to speak. I'm not going to act like this doesn't sound terrible. Like, I would never expect a girl to kiss me after sharing my past trauma and how I worked through it to benefit someone else who is also going through the same situation. But I am going to say that if I was a teenager again and this was me, I'd also fold. Hell, a girl just let me talk to her about my bullshit once and all she did was listen. And maybe I'm just a member of the male-adjacent species, but that worked for me. We're just friends, though. That ship wouldn't have sailed. She's very dear to me, and I care about her a lot. I hope she's watching. Asa herself is very much defined by her constant cheeriness and her gap moe. That feels really weird to say out loud, I'm sorry. But it's kind of part of her charm that she's outwardly more tomboyish, yet does girly things, if that makes sense. I mean, I don't mean to imply that cooking and baking is a girly thing in the slightest. I'm literally a line cook and I do a lot of cooking at home, glass houses and whatnot. But it's kind of the point that she's got this gap to her real character. At the very least, it's not like she's one of those girls in anime who are like, trying to be secretive about the more domestic things they do. That's a better way of saying it, actually. It's well known across the whole school that she's the best at cooking, her and her best friend Kareha, yet her nickname is the Shocking Shigure, because it's shocking she'd be like that? I'm kind of lost on the split between all of this sometimes. So one thing I'm glad that got changed entirely in the anime is who tells Rin about Asa's real heritage. In the VN, it's Asa who tells Rin that her mom, Ama, is the first homunculus formed from the kings of demons and gods, which is why Asa is part demon. She was sent to the human world after the experiment failed. She didn't die. In the anime, it's only revealed to Rin after Asa is seriously sick and in the hospital, and Ama decided to come clean. At that point in the anime, Rin already knows about Licorice, so all three homunculi are all accounted for with Ama explaining where she came from. There's also a bit of a friendly relationship with Ama that Rin has in the anime that's notably lacking in the VN. I thought it was important to show how much Ama actually trusted Rin to take care of her daughter and to joke around with him with it, like any good parent would. I like that a lot. What I don't like when things transfer to the anime is Asa deciding on using magic. Not that she ended up having to save herself and Rin, but more so the leading up to it. Like, okay, so Asa gets sick and ends up in the hospital at some point. It's known that her body is deteriorating and that she can use magic to fix the whole thing. In the VN, it's more like Asa has to let off magic every so often in order to discharge the energy. The pent-up magic within her body is actively killing her because her body is that of a human, yeah? So, the solution to her problems in general is to just use magic every so often. The anime has it so that Asa's weak constitution and such is something that can be fixed with magic. Like, she has the ability to cure herself, but doesn't. And there's nothing wrong with her reason to not use magic in either of the story, yeah? But I do have a problem with the execution itself. Like, why would you change the reason if the outcome is the same? And the ultimate solution is the same as well. Rin decides to force Asa to use magic so that she can save herself. But for the VN, it's much more in character for Rin to do something drastic because it only has the express purpose of helping Asa. But in the anime, it's like he expects that she's just going to help herself along the way. I mean, not for nothing, I probably would too at that point. If my girlfriend begged me to use magic to help myself and then forced my hand to help her out, I'd use magic to save myself at that point too. I'm just questioning why it's written this way. I tiptoed around what Rin does to force Asa to help herself, and it's kind of because I hate how he gets to that conclusion in the VN. I know I just praised it there, but hear me out. In the anime, Ama encourages Rin to really try and get Asa to help herself since she can't help her any more than he can. Rin then gets the very stupid idea to slit his own wrists in front of Asa to force her to do something. As he's losing consciousness, she caves and uses healing magic to make sure he doesn't fucking die. Ama only talks about how Rin can find a way to save her, just wants him to do something, anything at all. How Asa is stubborn and just a bit more convincing from her boyfriend can do it. In the VN, Ama and Rin are talking outside of the train station, and Ama basically puts it in his head that he can force her to use magic, putting her in a situation that compels her to use magic, and Ama just smiles and waves him off like he found a good solution. Like, I don't think that the Ama in the VN knows exactly why Asa is refusing. Like, she just expects her daughter to come around at some point. maybe I'm overblowing it, but I have a very distinct feeling that Amma knew what was going to happen in the VN, down to Rin choosing to put himself in some sort of danger to help out her daughter. Anime Amma just wants something to happen, and she knows exactly why Asa is as obstinate as she is in not using magic. It's hard to pick which one of these approaches is better. I almost wish we could combine the two. The aftermath is something that's the same in both cases. Rin's dying from blood loss and Asa heals him. I like that the anime really holds on it. Like, they hold on Asa's hair getting magically longer, they hold on the aftermath of what Rin did to get her to this point. They really let it sit that Rin did something really fucking stupid just to get his girlfriend to save herself. In the VN, she uses magic and that's kind of the end of it? Not that I dislike this kind of ending, they did what they needed, but I wish there was a bit more. Overall, I really liked Asa's storyline in this. It's more gradual that Asa reveals that she has a thing for Rin in the first place, despite that being part of the text. How she goes from not seeing him as a real partner candidate to being the only one in her eyes. I love that the kiss really affected Rin in a way that it doesn't for everyone else. Kaede's kiss was sudden and it didn't really feel like it meant anything, mostly because of what happened after it. Sia, Narine, and Primula's kisses don't affect any of the characters involved nearly as much as Asa and Rin's kiss does. I did end up being more endeared to Asa than I expected, but I can't really put her on top, to be honest with you. I like Sia way too much because I'm nothing if not endeared to brown-eyed girls.
Don't fucking look at me like that!
So what do I do to pad out time? Ah! I know! Let's put all the girls on a tier list! So Sia's already here, and Kaede's right there, so let's put Narine in A tier. I liked her a lot, definitely. Let's put Primula here as well, but slightly above Narine. Same tier, just to the left a little bit. Asa can probably go in B tier for me. I don't think any of the girls except for Kaede are bad, really. And while I'm at it, I'm gonna lock in Mayumi and Kariha too. Mayumi can go in B tier under Asa, and Kariha can go in C tier. I love Kariha's design, but considering I don't have access to her dedicated route, I'm a bit stuck. Mayumi's just fucking funny though. Fun fact about her, she actually has a name that's read forename surname, rather than how in Japanese it's the other way around. She actually says her name out loud in Japanese as Mayumi Time, unlike Rin, who would say Tsuchimi Rin, and I think that that's kind of neat. Oh, so Pokemon Pokopia came out during this video's production. Yeah! So hey, how's it been? Been a little bit since I last spoke to you face to face, as if the guy in the voiceover and the guy in front of the camera is a different entity entirely. So I came back in front of the camera to talk about something that I didn't mention in any of the other sections before we get into the anime, and it's how Asa won, so to speak. And this isn't necessarily talking about the anime's structure, even though it's foreshadowed from the very beginning when you think about it, that Asa is going to be the winner. Like, Asa gets the first fanservice scene when she forces Rin to look up her skirt or something like that, and no other character gets that forward that early in the anime. Like, Kaede's scene where she tries to sleep with Rin, it's too late, he's already made up his mind. Anything relating to Sia or Kikyo, it's mostly Kikyo, and he's not super into that, and I think he was also put off by the episode where everybody's like, oh, they're getting married. And even then with Narine, they adapted a scene from Narine's route to the beach part where Narine's dad, Forbesi, he puts her in a school swimsuit, and that entices everybody, which I mean, like, yeah, okay, if I was 17 again, I totally would like that too. But they adapted that from her dedicated route to the beach episode, and that's like the most fan servicey thing that happens in regards to Narine. And then there's Primula, where it's like they don't adapt anything fan servicey from Primula's route. Like, they don't do the boyfriend shirt thing, they don't do they do the cat maid thing at the end, but that's after Rin is already dating Asa, so it doesn't really count. And then there's like the lingerie buying scene, which happens in every route no matter what, because it's in what I've been calling the before times. But, like, Rin kind of leaves that, you know, as soon as they start trying to make Primula try on bras and stuff. So, like, I don't know. In the anime, it feels more for the audience. In the VN, it's just like there's one part that's for Rin, and then you're just like, oh, this is kind of funny. And then Rin leaves. And because Rin is our POV character almost exclusively in the VN, that's why it doesn't linger on it, aside from the one CG. After reading through the visual novel a second time, essentially through the entire course of this video being made, I realized why Asa won out in the end for the anime. And I almost want to say it makes the most sense, right? Because aside from them making shit up, when it comes to adapting the Primula route, I realize that Asa's route is the one that completes Reen's character, right? If that makes sense? It's probably why in the CG viewer, she's pinned as the second last, because in the CG viewer it goes Sia, Narine, Kaede, Asa, and then Primula. And I mentioned this in the Primula section, Primula feels like the ending, like the true ending that you're supposed to see after everything else. And there's a part of me that thinks that you can adapt the Primula ending to anybody else, and I didn't expect like the Primula ending as much as I ended up doing. I read through the Asa route, right? And it's the one that has Reen willingly opening up about his traumatic past with Kaede. Like, he's already essentially resolved that with Kaede during Kaede's route, but it's with Asa's that he has to sit there and explain what's going on. And I mentioned this just now, but Asa just has this serious expression on her face because she's really taking in what he's saying. So throughout the entire visual novel, we see Reen talk about his trauma in just very small doses, not even that much with Kaede because he's already forgiven her by the time the visual novel starts, and you see his self-sacrificial nature, but it doesn't come to a climactic end until you see Asa's route when he, tries to hurt himself in order to get Asa to fix her condition by blasting off magic. Even in other situations where he puts himself in harm's way, like in Sia's route when he willingly tries to get close to Kikyo and she hits him or something like that, I don't think he planned for Kikyo to shoot him with magic, right? In the moment when he kisses Kikyo, I don't think he expected her to shoot magic at him. There was no self-sacrificial moment in Narine's route, right? It's just a pretty lovey-dovey relationship all throughout. There's no self-sacrificial part in Kaede's route because the worst he gets is just trying to get through to her that he actually does love her. And there's not really a self-sacrificial part in Primula's route because the sacrifice is placed on everybody else trying to get Reen to come back to his senses. So the two routes that have the traumatic experience, only one of them is his own fault. So maybe it did make sense in order for that to be like a climactic situation in the anime, you know what I mean? And it's because of that I ultimately think Asa was supposed to win out, because they do a bunch of other things in the anime, like having her be the one that gives him pep talks, like having her constantly talk to him like he's a real person and not just because she's interested in him. And again, she's way more interested in him in the anime than she is in the visual novel. In the visual novel, it's barely set up. So when it comes to like what the anime set up for Asa, they did have the fan service scene right at the beginning, but even more so throughout the entire anime. They show Asa just being a good friend to Reen. Like, they show off the date in like the 20th episode or so. They have it in the made up section where Asa can't come with them to the demon realm because, she's sick, but she gives Reen the armband, and, they go to the demon realm, and then when they come back, Reen mentions like, no, having this ribbon on there meant a lot to me. It's like you were there with him. And I remember seeing that and I was just like, damn, they've been going so hard on this. And that's when somebody finally calls out Asa for being into Reen. And she's just gone like, yeah, it's not like she's hiding it or anything, but they have so many little moments where Reen and Asa are getting to know each other just as friends, and they just have this chemistry on screen that it's not like he lacks with the other girls, but the anime plays more into the familial dynamic with Kaede. It plays into more of the friend dynamic with Narine. And with Sia, it's like they were dating a little bit, but then they stopped because, Sia mentioned she just wanted to be friends and just work from there, which I understand. And Primula wasn't even on the table, right? The most romantic thing that Primula does is bury her face into Reen's chest when they first meet, or something like that. So it's like they put Primula off of the path entirely, which, I don't know, there's a part of me that can appreciate that, but there's another part of me that's like, no, I want her to fully come into her own as a person, and that requires her to, you know, be with Rin. Not romantically or dating or anything like that, but it requires her to be with Rin, and in reality, the anime treats it more as Kaide's responsibility for Primula to be the teacher of the emotions and stuff. It's why I don't think I liked Kaede as much, because the anime played up the familial dynamic more than anything, and I really, really liked that. But that's enough about the anime and what I got wrong. Let's get into some background stuff for this video. So like I said, the catalyst for this video was rewatching the anime as I was making my last video about harem anime, so I just kind of got to rewatching it. I kept thinking about other anime that were harem, and they were inspired by visual novels, like Canon and Clannad, and I think Air. I haven't watched Air, to be honest with you. It made me think about other visual novels that got adapted into anime, like Higurashi, which is, you know, one of my favorites, even though I became a fan through the manga, and then I watched the anime. The anime isn't that good, the original anime, and then I also read the visual novels later. And it was watching the anime and learning back from the past about how some characters got added for certain niche enjoyers, like Primula got added to appease the people who are into petite girls, I guess, to say it lightly. But it was because of that I figured, why don't I do a YouTuber and I do a full retrospective on something that I hadn't experienced before, like comparing the original media to the adaptation. And I don't know, I just thought that was cool, and that's why throughout this project it's been really meaningful to me, and why I hope people watch this far and watch till the end, because I've genuinely had so much fun making it, despite all the ups and downs that's gone through it. Like, I've recorded in my old recording booth, and now I'm recording in this room studio thing. How do you like it, by the way? I think I've set it up pretty good. Don't look at the white on the walls. I'm just bad at putting up sound foam. So one of the things I wanted to do for this video, and what I want to do for anime videos going forth, So one of the things I've wanted to do for this video and other anime videos going forth is that I've been wanting to get like merchandise or something related to the anime I'm reviewing for every video, and I haven't been able to succeed in that a whole lot, but I did get some progress in. So I made a video about the manga for 2.5D Seduction, the first video I ever had to hire voice actors for. I mean, I didn't have to, but I wanted to. And one of the things I've been wanting ever since was a figure, and I got this one of Liliel from the series, the character that the main character cosplays a whole lot. Basically, almost exclusively. I think I can count on one hand the amount of times Lilisa cosplays as a different character entirely. So that's fun. And one thing I really wanted to do was get a figure or something of the other, some memorabilia for Shuffle, because I've put so much effort and technically money into this project. Like, I moved to a whole new apartment and I've hired more voice actors for that whole segment. God damn it, I'm hemorrhaging money. Go pledge to my Ko-Fi or something. So one of the things I've wanted to do for this video in specific was to get memorabilia for Shuffle. So that meant in my head I should get like a copy of the game somehow, and I looked up a PS2 version because that's way easier to just like pull up on camera, and if I get it by the time this video comes out, here it is. But I saw that there was like a special edition that came with a 6-inch figure of Sia in her school uniform, and I was just like, damn, I really want that, and I haven't been able to justify buying it as of this moment. Again, I'm showing it on screen right now if I've already bought it. But there was also another thing that the American release did. So there were 6 volumes of the DVD released for the anime in English, and the 6th one came with a pair of panties? It's Sia's god panties, I guess? I think it's the one that she wore in episode 16. Like, I remember reading on Wikipedia, it's like it's her god panties, and I remember thinking, oh, I should get like the DVD or something of the anime because I'm a big fan of the anime. But then I realized, okay, no, I'm gonna want the special edition, and it came with panties of all thing, and I'm just like, this feels wrong. Like, okay, I don't know, maybe I'm just weird, right? But I don't want I don't want a character's underwear when I buy a special edition of a DVD. it just feels voyeuristic and wrong. I don't know how to explain it. It just doesn't sit right with me that was the thing that we released in like 2010 of all times. Man, imagine if this was alcohol. I've just been thinking. I want to get more things related to things I've reviewed. Like, I'd love to get a Makaina figure, and I saw one, but it was Anna in a bunny suit, and it was 1/4 scale, and I'm just like, it's cute, but I'm not spending like $400 on a figure. And then I also want to get a Marin Kitagawa figure, because, you know, Marin's great. But this also means that I would want to get a bottom tier character Tomizaki figure. I would want to get a Rent-A-Girlfriend figure. And if I could get a figure from More Than a Married Couple But Not Lovers, I totally would, but I've looked and there's nothing. I think the best was an acrylic standee or something like that, which I'm never gonna fucking find. And if somebody does, you know where to find me. So anyway, that's basically all I wanted to say. I just want to say thank you to everybody who's watched this far and is continuing to do so while I get to the anime part, which has been a long time coming. I also want to just thank people for watching any of my videos. If you've been here, you've helped the channel get this far. And if I can wax poetic for a second, there is a part of me that wishes that I've gotten bigger, more subscribers at this point, you know, because I'm a self-entitled piece of shit. But it's only because people saying, like, in my comments, oh, you're gonna blow up so soon, you're doing great, this video's great, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, I appreciate the comments, I do. I've read every single comment multiple times, and I still put the same amount of love and effort into all of my videos. I'm just trying to believe in myself more than anything, because all of you guys believe in me. I don't know if it's well placed, but, you know, let's go. And so maybe this video is going to do well, maybe it's not. I don't know. All I know is I'm happy to be making it, and I hope that I don't find another reason to come in front of the camera again. This is kind of embarrassing. I don't know how people do it all the time. Who's going to make fun of me for how I look today? With all that said, I guess there's nothing left to do but talk about the anime. I'll see you on the other side. Alright, time for the anime. Cards on the table. I kind of fucking love this anime, which shouldn't surprise you considering how much of it I used in the last episode of the Space Show. If I release something before this video comes out, I will jump into the endless abyss. There's a lot of reasons why, and there's a ton of reasons as to why I shouldn't, but let's just get right into it. I'm a positive person, after all. Shuffle's anime came out in like 2007, and I think I watched it in maybe 2014? 2014 or 2013, I can't be entirely sure. I remember being awkward and weird at the time, but I was a teenage boy, so you'll have to forgive me for being a teenage boy. I remember liking it well enough, but I also remember not really engaging with the dub as much as I would in later years, since due to a lot of reasons, I had to watch with the sound off. That has since changed and is actually the first thing I want to bring up. Recently on sites like Twitter and Blue Sky, I see people re-evaluating older dubs since they let the actors really be more of themselves, rather than just trying to emulate the original Japanese like they do nowadays. I think both approaches have their merits. What I would prefer personally is kind of what Shuffle does, which is meld the two. I send this clip to my friends all the time because I love it, but I'm going to show it to you in both languages. It's just Sia the second after she hits her dad over the head with a folding chair for the first time. You ready? Alright, here you go. Japanese first.
He has got a cute body and you better have the energy!
Dad, gross! Don't say things like that!
The VA clearly does her own thing, characterizing Sia's very understandable anger when her dad is being really fucking weird about his own daughter. I love how textured her voice is in English, the way that she added her emotion in words to the line. In Japanese, she just tells him not to say weird things without really adding on how she feels about the whole exchange. I mean, the chair to the back of the head like that explains her feelings pretty well, but I like how they did this. The actual choices for actresses in this series is something I would love to praise more than I'm going to, but hear me out. There's something so evocative of how textured Sia's voice can be at times, like when she's squealing about how she loves being called one of Reen's girlfriends, or the physically strained grunts she makes when slamming her dad with a chair. Narune was given a deeper voice, one that's more trained, I want to say. I mean, she is a singer after all, so it's smoother and goes down a lot easier. The thing with Narune's Japanese voice is that it's also higher pitched, and I don't think that works as well. If I didn't understand vaguely, literally how Narune says words and such, I might have mistaken her for being Sia. I could say the same for Asa might be the biggest upgrade from Japanese to English I could have hoped for. There's something so lovely about a tomboyish girl having that tomboyish girl voice. I recognize that between the languages, those things are most likely very different and that I'm being a dumbass right now, but still. I love her performance in English. I love how she just sounds like a tease, and God, Reen's voice matching her energy in most cases is just cream on the pie. I should call her. Kaede and Primula sound mostly the same. I think that that's a compliment in Primula's case, but where it really gets interesting is with Kaede. At the end of the show where the drama happens, Kaede's VA is really just busting out absolutely everything. She's selling her love, her anger,
And all of my sorrow! Shining Finger Swords!
she's selling her love, her anger, every bit of emotion that Kaede is feeling, and it's something that, sure, you get in the Japanese dub, but man, I felt it in English. I wish I could go over every single individual little change that the dub makes, because there's so many good ones that sell every individual aspect of the characters way better than I think the subtitles could do. And I recognize that I'm saying that as a native English speaker, but you're gonna have to forgive me on this one. Okay, hold on. There's one specific thing I think gets sold way more in English. I could cut this from the video and it'd be the same, but I'm being super indulgent for the second time. It's this moment when Asa and Reen are walking home together and Asa has a crutch. They're talking about a confession that Asa received earlier and how she hasn't really answered the guy in question. We know why, it's because she has a thing for Reen, but he doesn't know that yet. They're talking and Asa very cheekily mentions that Reen is so handy for walking her home. The line Asa says before this is, "You're so handy." In Japanese, Reen asks, "Just what am I?" while chuckling, and in English, he cheekily asks, "Oh, is that what I am?" And this is such a little thing, but the wording here means so much to me. Him doing that kind of "oh really" type of response conveys way more how fond of each other these two are. Asa very much reminds me of someone I know. I talked about her during the Asa section, funnily enough, but I've gone on record to her that Reen and I are very different people. Except in this specific situation and how they talk to each other. It's the echoes of how me and this girl talk. Her teasing me and me being the autistic fuck that I am, not always understanding that she's not being serious, but understanding that a joke is happening and going along with it. I'm nothing if not committed to the bit. Back to the anime. Asa asks what he wants to be, or who he thinks he is. The subtitles say, in order, a hopeless kid brother, an old bud, or a childhood friend the instant we met. In English, Asa says an obnoxious kid brother, a friend of unsavory ties, or an old childhood playmate. The dualist in me recognizes that they could do anything with the dub here since Asa isn't shown on screen, so there was no lip flaps to sync up to. So this decision to go off script necessarily isn't one to be praised, but I like how it characterizes Asa. Her saying obnoxious instead of hopeless kind of implies the same thing, that she knows Reen well enough to poke fun at him without going too far. I think obnoxious sells more that since, yeah, Reen's self-sacrificial tendencies and being so caught up with nearly every one of his friend's businesses, down to his sly remarks at nearly every turn, I consider that an obnoxious friend if I ever had one. I might be that one, honestly. The childhood playmate one isn't special or anything, but I think the friend line is really cool. It kind of implies that they both get up to shenanigans together, whatever that means. I like it a lot rather than just an old friend, you dig? What I really like is the words right after that. Reen just says that that's boring, and then Asa presses up against Reen and asks if that made his heart race. He just replies that it's exactly this kind of thing that makes it not exciting, and Asa just goes, "Yeah, you've got a point." There's no real teasing going on here, even though that's assumedly the point. No back and forth like I'm assuming friends like this would have. The kind where the tension is a string that you walk up to and pluck and go, "Damn, that's a nice note you got there. That an E string?" In English, however, after hearing all of the options on what Reen is to Asa, he just cheekily goes, "None of those are sexy." And then, seeing an opportunity to tease him, Asa then presses up to him and is all, "Is that sexy enough for you?" To which Reen responds that she's being patronizing. And yeah, she kinda was. It's this teasing that didn't really exist in Japanese that I think really sells the relationship that the two eventually share. I just love that these two are very much able to go back and forth, like, I want that in a friend, you know? And I'm glad I have that. So stuff got added for extra drama in the anime, like Asa's sickness being essentially terminal if she doesn't save herself, but what I'm really surprised by is where they pulled the Primula part of the story. In every route of the visual novel, Rin gets a horrible nightmare of Primula being a lifeless doll of sorts, and that's taken to the logical extreme when they take the part of her needing to go back to the demon realm from her route. Instead of it being kind of bureaucratic, Primula gets sick and has to go back in order to get better. But it turns out that she isn't able to come back due to her magic being unstable. So Rin and friends get the big idea to go to her, entering the demon realm in order to go plead to see her at the very least. It's this intimate scene where, when Primula's state goes critical, the Licorice half of Narine comes out and protects everyone and holds back Primula's magic long enough for her to come to her senses and miraculously make a full recovery. It's like they took something kinda traumatizing for Rin in the VN and turned it around, along with having everyone there to sell what was going on. I like how much more the family aspect of Rin, Kaede, and Primula is put to the forefront of the show, you know? And it's that episode that really makes an effort to make it feel real. Yeah? Yeah. Let's see, what else? Okay, so Narine has a nickname that I've been refusing to use for a lot of reasons. Not because I think it's bad, I actually think it's really good. In English. Yes, I'm still praising the English dub. So in the VN, Narine is introduced and she says that she can be called Rin. You know, like the main character. Rin. This kind of fucks me up because there has been times where they have to put in parentheses that a character is talking about Narine rather than Rin. What they do in English is change Narine's nickname to Rina. The reason in canon is the same. Licorice met Rin when they were kids, and she saw that Rin was inside of Narine. In English, that nickname became Rina, so it's always immediately apparent who is being talked about. Maybe this really isn't a big deal, but it is weird that Narine and Rin have the same name and honorifics to Asa. She always calls them both Rin-chan, even when her and Rin are dating. Alright, that's enough about the English dub, except it isn't, but also it is. So Kaede has a fan club at the school that everyone attends. It's unfortunately called 3K. So like, 3 Ks put together. So they make a joke about that in English.
The Knights of Kisikaide, otherwise known as the KKK. Not the mean guys with the sheets.
Lysianthus and Narine also get fan clubs called SSS and RRR, and all 3 of these clubs get insane names because they're actually all acronyms. In Japanese, 3K is Kito Kito Kaede. In English, they get called the Knights of Kisikaide. SSS is Suki Suki Sia, or Sexy Sia Soldiers. And RRR is Ran Ran Rinchan, or Rita's Randy Raiders. I have no notes, they're all perfect. It's a running joke in the VN that Rin's kind of the envy of literally every male student because he hangs out with all the girls all the time, and also that he's singled out as their marriage candidates on, like, the 2nd month of the school year. Is it 2nd or 3rd? I mean, Japanese schools start in April, so, like, in the anime, it's taken to a whole different thing entirely. Like, you've got these guys with literal fucking guns and combat gear, guys in school uniform or whatever the hell else, just chasing Rin all around the school trying to kick his ass just for being friends with girls. Imagine being friends with girls, couldn't be me. These guys are like the primary source for physical comedy in the series. They fall off by the middle of the run, so about episode 12, when it starts getting more dramatic, but it's fun seeing them go to the extreme with what was an underground fan club in the VN. I got halfway through recording the Kaede section and I realized that I never went back to talk about her in the anime, and that's a crime, so here we go. So one of the things I alluded to earlier in the video is how Kaede's character was handled and how she eventually kicked her self-loathing when it came to Rin. It's also how Rin responds to that. Rin realizes for a long time that he's really been playing everyone because he selfishly thought he could make everyone happy when he couldn't. It's not necessarily forgiving Kaede and being with her romantically that will help her move on from her past. As long as he's with her, she will continue to treat her domestic activity as punishment, which isn't what anyone wants, yeah? So when Rin is spending more time with one girl whose company he's enjoying more, that being Asa, of course he makes the decision to fully break away while he still can. So Rin's relationship with Asa grows stronger, and Kaede feels like she's having her purpose for living taken away, which would suck a lot. I get that. But her cruelest action as a teenager is her trying to physically assault Asa and screaming at her to die, which is much more of an emotional breakdown moment that I think was deserved, and maybe needed than what happened in the VN. Like, how do I say this? Kaede's resolution in the visual novel still ended up with her being in the same position that she started in, only she's now dating Rin. She still wants to take care of him and all that, but it's lost the self-punishment aspect of it all. That's, it doesn't really feel all that good, you know? Kaede's resolution in the anime is so much. It's her begging and pleading to just let Rin stay in that house with her. Just let him be loved or whatever, but Rin recognizes that that's not what she actually needs, and maybe it is a bit selfish to keep being there. So he decides to move out and learn to take care of himself. Kaede, at that point, just wants to try anything at all to keep Rin with her, resorting to try to sexually assault him if that means he stays, and that's when shit really explodes and Rin just goes, no, this isn't right. Eventually, everything is okay, and I know I'm not doing this character arc justice, but believe me when I say that I think Kaede having to go through something like this was more important for her. She's not losing out on someone in her life entirely, like they're still friends at the end of the day. It's just Kaede blowing things up to extremes that really pushed everyone in her life like this. I understand that Kaede has a lot of problems going on, but even in the anime, she's not dealing with two sides of her personality or her life that come into conflict. The only way to effectively deal with her issues of genuinely hating herself was to take away her method of self-harm. And I get that. And fuck everybody who says that this is a yandere anime or that Kaede has a yandere side. You're fucking stupid and you don't have fucking eyes. I hate you so much. It's like, Kaede's arc in the VN was external forgiveness from Rin. That's what ended the story, even though it's clear for 8 years that he was never even mad at her for how he was treated. It's so textual that he was never mad at her for reacting the way she did. It was a position he intentionally put himself in, yeah? But in the anime, Rin also never had to forgive Kaede for anything, but she had to go on a self-forgiveness journey. She had to learn how to live with her past as a literal 9-year-old. Her breakdown and trying to hurt Asa is something that also is forgiven, but is much more indicative of her actual mental state and something that needs to be dealt with. I can't explain in good terms why this change means so much to me, even if it meant adding a bunch of shit that didn't need to be added. I think it's a much better showcase of the theme of Shuffle than the VN actually had, that being the mix that all the heroines have over their identities. Again, Sia and Kikyo, Narine and Licorice, Asa's demon ancestry, Primula's status as a homunculus, and Kaede's self-harm. That's what was missing from the VN that the anime actually added in a more textual capacity, rather than being subtext. There's always going to be trouble going from a visual novel to an anime because they can't possibly include everything that makes the VN special, yeah? They can't always keep every little detail, so things need to change out of necessity. Any good adaptation does that. I mentioned it during the individual character reviews, but some stuff that happens in the anime is original to the VN, but it only happens when Rin is already dating one of the girls. Hell, some of his best characterization only comes from when he's already dating one of the girls, except for Kaede, who arguably gets more expanded on in the anime. Letting scenes breathe in a way that they can't necessarily when you're just reading them is very satisfying. I'm sure you saw it in my footage, but I'm able to read things very fast. I don't know how many times I let the text play out in full while also listening to the voiceover in the visual novel. Obviously, I would recommend both, but if you're going to choose one, make it the anime and cry about Asa being the favorite. She gets a lot more to do in the anime than she did in the original work, but I kinda like that. So, yeah? Yeah. If you liked what I'm doing here, I would love it if you subscribe to the channel. It helps me more than you know. Commenting also helps because I love hearing what you guys think. If any of this sounded fun to you, I'd love to do more retrospective type content in the future, but this video, oh, it took a lot out of me. I say that a lot, but this is a very long video. I can't be doing these that often. If you really like what I'm doing, chucking a membership or a super thanks my way would mean the world, but only do so if you're financially able to, goddammit. With all of that said, my name is Sonata. Thank you for watching.